Hey YouTube, how is it going? I hope all is well. As you can see, we have nothing on the bench. There's a reason for that. The amp is done. I've been lying to you this whole time. You see, the project you've actually been watching isn't the giveaway amp. I already finished it. As a matter of fact, I stayed up all night last night getting it done. So hold on, let me get the actual giveaway amp over here ready for you. There she is. Did you see that? Look at that. This is beautiful, isn't it? No, I'm just kidding. But I did need to clean up my space a little bit. I almost had you for a second. April Fools, right? April Fools. Anyway, I'm shocked there's so many of you so quick. Riley, Grant, good to see you guys. Thank you all so much for coming in. Let me put this aside for a second. I'll bet for a split second you guys were wondering though. I'll bet for a split second I had you. There's a man in a workshop. And I was working all night, actually. I was working all night in my brain on how we're going to freaking polish this turd off. I spoke a bit with Andy today. Maybe he was giving me an April Fool's joke. I don't know. We'll see. Wiggy Diggy, what's going on? Dale, what's going on? Colby, what's going on? No, actually, Colby, I goofed up. I'm through my Red Bull allotment for the day, but because I wanted to try to have as clear a desk as I could, I forgot to put out my my drink of choice. So hold on just 1 second while I do that. I'm gonna take you guys with me. Doop-de-doo, doop-de-doop-de-doo. The birds are singing. Nice cool breeze. I've got my Dr. Pecker. All right, sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. All right, here we are. We're here now. Okay, so I was speaking with Andy earlier, and I want to clear some confusion amongst a couple people. So it's also kind of not necessarily like a teachable moment, but it's something that we can kind of talk about and get an idea of what's going on. So, God, so full of shit. I almost had you. So I've said it before in some of my other videos that there's a pretty easy way to determine like what output transformer you should have for X given power transformer and set of tubes that you're using. And the math on that still holds true, but it doesn't tell the whole story, right? So depending on the voltage that you're applying to the tube, it does change the impedance, which is why we do the math the way we do, right? Oh yeah, it's moving along really nicely. So the downside is that the load that the tube really likes to work around, or how it actually works around with those, kind of changes how it reacts, you know, in and of itself, right? So with a lower voltage, it may actually work better with a higher plate, primary impedance, I should say. Whereas with higher voltage, you generally would end up with a higher or lower, whatever. You know, you end up with generally a higher value primary impedance anyway. But the rough math is pretty basic. It's whatever your expected plate voltage is on your power tubes are. So let's say 400 volts, just for a nice round number. And then you times it, or you square it by itself, right? So 400 times 400, and you end up with some large numbers like 144,400 or whatever. Now the easy math, there's two different ways you can do it. You can split that up either way. So you take that 144,400 or whatever it is, and you can either divide it by the expected power that you would like to achieve, or you can divide it by the impedance that you know that you have, right? And then it will spit out the expected power that you will get or achieve. Without busting out a piece of paper, you just have to imagine that I said 144,400 after squaring 400 volts, and then I divide that by 50, right? And we end up with 3,200. You can do the math on your own. That's just the rough math. That's what we got going on with this guy right here, okay? We're expecting 400 volts on the plates of the power tubes while it is running at idle. And when we do that and we're looking for X amount of wattage out of it, we want 50 watts of power. That means we need to have a output transformer of roughly 3,200 ohms. All right, so what that means is we know that we're going to get 50 watts of power. Sorry, I'm shaking around too much. So the other way that you can do it, like I mentioned, is you can just take the output transformer that you have and you can divide that number and it will tell you what power you should get. Pretty basic stuff. Well, that only tells you a portion of the story, right? There's wiggle room either direction, and depending on the tube will actually depend on how it will react in reality with that, you know, load that you have, that primary impedance. And I know this is kind of boring right now, but we're getting the shop talk out of the way, all right? So here's the interesting thing, and maybe I can call it up. Let's do some work here. Let's make this a little more quantifiable. So we're going to call up a 6L6 data sheet, okay? Tube data sheet. There we go. We're going to look at Frank electron tube, and I'm going to see if it has all the data there that I'm looking for, but maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. This one does actually kind of have it. This one does kind of have it, and I'll show you what I mean. All right, so let's get over to display capture. There it is, okay? So nothing crazy here. You see a tube data sheet, and it doesn't mean all that much to you. So all we know is it's a 6L6 or a 6L6G, right? Well, we don't really use that particular tube all that often, but it tells you pretty much what you need to know. What's kind of cool is it tells you what the plate voltage max is. In this case, it's saying it's 275 volts max. Now, I don't know when the last time you saw an amplifier that had less than 300 volts on the plates of the tubes. In general, with most amp designers out there, they're pushing at least 450 volts, if not more. So a real 6L6G or 6L6GC, I think, is actually rated for somewhere around like 360 or some odd volts, something like that. But we're always putting at least another 100 volts on top of that. So maybe what it is that we're used to seeing those lower primary impedances with those voltages, because that is what is required to make it work the way that they want it to, not necessarily the way it's meant to. So if you look here, even in cathode bias mode, it's saying that its load resistance is about 6,000 ohms when supplied with about 250 volts. Imagine that, right? So the lower you go in voltage, interestingly enough, with the 6L6, it seems that it likes a higher primary impedance. That's just this particular sheet right here. Let's see if we can find another one. That's another Frank's. We're not going to go with a JJ. JJ's they're a little bit different of a beast. Let's just see what this one shows. This one's more of an old school style, but it probably tells us similar details, right? Maximum plate volts is 360 volts, right? Again, that's kind of where most of them are actually at. If you look at the tube data sheets for most tubes, right around 360 volts is what they state as being the maximum is. Some are different, but some are not. But then again, you can see again, transconductive. These are the expected plate loads that it wants to have at these voltages, etc., etc. 4,200, 4,500. So as you can see, different tube sheets even have different bits of data. So it's really, really difficult. This is class A1, so that's probably not really what we're looking for. But again, we're seeing, again, a higher, this is triode connection. We're not even going to bother with that one. Let's see if we can find an A1 push-pull. There we go. So again, 5,000 ohms of primary resistance. And then if you look over here, you can see what is the voltage that we're expecting on that one. Does it tell us in that portion of it? You saw there for a second, it said 6,000. 360 volts. It's looking for 6,000 ohms of load resistance. So, and then values are for two tubes. So you can see that depending on what you're looking at and how you want to extrapolate that data, it can go either way. So if you put lower grid number 2 voltage would be your screens, right? So if you put more voltage, you end up with a lower primary impedance. If you put less voltage, you end up with a higher primary impedance. So there's all kinds of different things. You can play around with the load lines, this, that, and the other, but you have to be really, really good with all that kind of crap. So the point that I was getting at is that you really have to go all over the place. I'm sorry, I biffed it. I clicked the wrong button. Here we are now. This is the actual So that's the only point about that. The math is one thing, but the actuality of some of the things are different. When I say he, I'm talking about Andy at the moment. He did some research, did his own little mathematical calculations, and it turns out that based on what he expects to have for operating voltage, etc., he's expecting around a 6,000 ohm primary plate, primary impedance. So there's that. So I think that the amp that he's got in mind for Grant Us Glorious Tone is going to be right up the alley. The only thing that's kind of the weak link at the moment now is the power transformer. It will do it, and it will do it probably just happily. It's just when you start looking to get every little watt out of it, that might be when the power transformer is going to start feeling taxed a little bit. It may distort, it may not. It may hurt the transformer, it may not. Probably won't. Most of these transformers are rated for a little bit more than what they actually say they are. When I purchased that transformer, interestingly enough, I was under the expectation that it was a 173 milliamp transformer. So again, we're talking about the giveaway amp that Andy of YDNA fame is giving to Grant Us Glorious Tone. And you can go to Andy's channel, Andy Lederman. I can't remember if he does the 1976 or whatever in there, but in either case, if you go to the Andy Lederman channel, he talks about it quite often. And he's going to be starting on that build here, hopefully this week. I think he's waiting on his laser parts to come in. So there's more than one way to skin a putty tap, if you will. So thank you guys for hanging out with me for as long as you have so far while we got through all that bull crap. Let's get what we're actually here for back in the picture, because I know this is what you guys want to see. No, I didn't do anything else last night. I did not stay up all night. I didn't pass go, and I did not finish the amp. But you can kind of see, maybe you can, maybe you can't, but God darn it, if I could get Hammond to not paint these leads. Let's see if I can get this up there so you can see it, what I'm talking about there. You can kind of just see the black paint right around, this vicinity of the wire there. You're going to see it because I only got to go that freaking far with it. Like literally it's going to go right to where that paint is at. Darn. All right. Where do I want to start, I guess? Interestingly enough, all we're really going to be able to kind of get to today is probably the output transformer. We'll get this guy done. We'll get these two wires here for the center taps done. I'll probably get these cut to a shorter length just so they're not whopping all over the place. I'll cut them like to right there or something because I know that they'll fit in that length. Which will, maybe I'll try to get the connector on the primary side of the whatchamacallit's done as well. So little things like that. I did order the longer screws that I need for this right here. So those are coming. Let's see here. What else? Where is it? Gimme goo. Look at this. Look at that cool little thing right there. So those little freaking things gave me a bunch of hell. I ordered them probably 3 weeks ago, and I get a message saying that they're in Santa Clarita. And then the next day I get a thing saying your package is delayed. And next thing you know, a week goes by and I'm like, where the hell is my package at? And check it out. And I said, sorry, it's delayed. We don't know what happened to it, right? Well, these little things, I obviously did a return and then put in for another order. And they finally came. The second time it got to Santa Clarita, and then freaking it sits there for a day, and I check back on it the next day, like, where the hell is it? And it says, package is delayed. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? I don't know what it is with Santa Clarita, but that hub needs to get their crap pulled together, okay? But those are the plugs that I was talking about for the bias adjust pots, I guess, if you will. So I'll have a couple of those in there so that they, people won't stick their little fingers in there. I am still going to look and see if I can find a plug for these guys. I don't think that they make one. Again, it's really difficult to get your finger in there anyway. And even if you did, it wouldn't hurt. Like, we're talking just nothing. There's nothing going across that thing. It's attached to ground by a 1 ohm resistor. So you'd have to, again, screw up pretty dang hard. Like, I dare say you could probably stick both the probes in there and put your fingers on it, and you wouldn't even know something happened. But let's get a drink. I don't know that it's going to be necessarily a Legacy versus YDNA. They are completely different amps. Just like every which way you can imagine in terms of what their intention is. And Andy and I were actually talking about that a little bit today. Obviously, for those of you who probably don't know, when he's talking shit and smacking on me all the time, he's just busting my balls. You know, he's just poking, right? He's fucking around with me. He doesn't actually mean that. And believe you me, we talk often enough to know that that's the truth, okay? But our design ideas are different, right? Our goals are different. Most all of his amps are designed to stay clean in the output section. He does not like output section distortion whatsoever. So he will tend to keep it that way, all right? So he'll design his amps in such a way to make it so it stays that way. Well, I do mine a little bit differently. So I design my amps to, not this one's a little bit different, but I design my amps to include the entirety of the amp, right? So when you dime it up, I expect the power tubes to start playing in the game. What's going on, dude? So, you know what I mean? Like, that's the design goal that I have, is to get the entirety of the amp working together. Well, that means I have to change the design a bit to suit that, right? So going with conventional designs doesn't always work, because if I want the output section to break up earlier so it can play the game a little bit sooner, that's what we got to do, right? Not everybody can do that well. It's difficult to do where you can get the balance from clean to mean, right? What is going up? Miss Heather Crabtree, it's good to see you. Thank you for coming in. So again, just different ways of getting there. Now with this design here, we are intending for the output section to stay clean. I'm still doing things kind of my own little way, but in the long and short of it all is we are going to, you know, treat it more or less like a high watt is, sans dropping the voltage a little bit, but we're going to intend on keeping a clean power section, and we'll rely heavily on the preamp to do all the work for us. So that's where the differences come in. So I am going to start doing some things here. Never mind me while I make some decisions on how I want to wire things up. But I think first and foremost what we're going to work on is getting the output kind of dialed in real quick. So I'm going to get a couple things here so we can start on that. Do I braid it first? So braiding is kind of my thing. Not a lot of people do it. When it comes to the output tubes, I don't generally wire or braid all 4 of them. I usually just braid the 3 secondaries. So I am going to do that now. I just got to try to find the order that I want them to go in, and I think I'm going to go with that. And if you've never seen a man braid anything before, well, here you go. And let's see, did I get it started right? No, I did not. It's sometimes a brat and a half. The girls are probably already laughing at me. Like, oh my God, you're doing it wrong already. Hey, look, I'm just a dude, all right? So, I don't want that. I want that. And once I kind of get a rhythm, it goes pretty quick, generally. But I'm not going to go super tight with this one, but I am going to get it just kind of going. You know what I mean? Nah, I mean. Although, do I want to go nice and tight? Nah, we don't need to go tight on this one. There we go. That's pretty good right there, I think. So I'm going to finish this up a bit, and darn it, lost my spot on that. I am just going to go all the way out with it. So, but there it is. You just watched a dude braid cable. Sort of. My hands were in the way, but you get the idea, right? There it is. It's all pretty like and stuff and things. I kind of want this to be on the other side of that, though. I don't really want that to be on the top. So I'm going to see if I can work this thing around these wires. in some way so I can get it on the side I want it to come out of. And it looks like I'll be able to pull that off. You do kind of got to be careful. You don't want to reef on it too much, but it looks like we're going to be able to pull that off. So I'm going to get that down there. I'm going to stuff it down in there. Stuff it down in there. Now this one is our ground. That's our common, as they call it. That one is going to go to the speaker jack there. So I am going to put a speaker jack in. We're going to put that there. I want the other washer though. So I'm going to put 2 washers on it. This will keep it kind of just steady for me. So there we go. So when you're looking at these things, freaking, of course the wire ran off. When you're looking at these things, the tip is out here. So the tip is the one that's furthest in, and the sleeve, I guess if you want to call it that, or whatever, is this inner one here. So anyway, so let's get that kind of going. And I want to try to keep this thing so it's pretty squared off. I know you can't really see, but it's kind of staying put right here like I want it to. So we're going to just try to make it look like that. Even though it may not. We'll have to, so we'll go back with heat is what we'll do, is we'll go back with some heat. And that heat is what we'll use to lock things in place. I put a bunch of stuff away because I was trying to be a kitschy little fuck. And needless to say, I put a bunch of stuff away. I probably didn't need to. All right. We're not going to be able to solder this in right away, but we'll be able to do something with it. I'm going to cut it a little bit proud, but not much. We don't need a whole lot. All right. Excuse me. It's a real show already. All right, let's take another sip because that seems to be doing. Let's see here. All right. Another decision I have to make is, do I want to run these this way across in the opposite direction? So again, it's hard for you guys to see what I'm talking about there, but you know, I could run these wires crisscross and then have them go in this direction, or I'm going to have to extend them all. And the reason I'm going to have to extend them all is because one of them is going to go to here. That one will make it. The other 2 won't make it to their destination. So there's no point in trying to make it so, you know, I got 2 different types of wires in here, right? Square pegs, round holes. So I have to come up with another decision on how I'm going to run that. And I like using 20 gauge for those, but I only have, let me, before I put my foot in my mouth, make sure. So this is 20 gauge, this is 20 gauge. So I got black. I don't know that I have white in 20 gauge. Historically, I don't carry a lot of those differing colors. There's a reason for that. I don't like kaleidoscope amps, to be honest. So the fact that I even have, ooh, I see some white. Is it 20 gauge? It is. Aren't we in some luck? All right, so I have the colors needed. That one's not long enough either. Darn. But this one is long enough. So I have the colors needed in the gauge of wire that I need to do this in the style of wire that I like. So this is the Teflex stuff that I was talking about. This one has the green on it, or is this a different version of it? This one has the green on it, but it is 20. It's 20 gauge. I like this stuff. It's some good stuff. Anyway, so I got the wire I need for that, so we'll do that here in just a second. I'll put this aside. You go over here. This goes back in here. Save that for another day. Okay. So the next thing I want to try to do is figure out where I'm going to cut these things. I think it would probably behoove me to cut them. Oh gosh. I don't really want them to be seen. So I'm going to kind of cut them like right in the middle of the 2 output jacks here, so that the seam is kind of hidden. Because what I like to do is use butt connectors. And let's see if I have some. I hope I do. I used to. I do have some butt connectors. So what I'll do, I got these butt connectors here, but these are the ones that you heat up and it self-shrinks. I will still probably cover these with yet another layer of shrink wrap, just so that way I don't see the ugly colors. But I do have the butt connectors I need with the nice fancy heat shrink stuff. I used to have some other style, but they were like from eons ago. Yeah, I don't have them anymore. So eons ago, ooh, wait, maybe. How many? Oh, I do. What do you know? I'm gonna use these instead. That'll bring back some memories, right? Look at that. That's Radio Shack era stuff right here. So let's get, I'd rather use these, to be honest. So I'm going to get 4 of these guys out. 3 of these guys out, excuse me. So long as I don't screw anything up, I don't have to worry about it. Sorry guys, you're going away. Alright. Let's see where I put that box. There we go. Sorry, I'm cleaning up a little bit. Gotta stay organized. That's how much I love you guys. I'm giving you the good stuff. So I'm going to use these. We'll pinch those in, solder them up a little bit, and yada, yada, yada. But let's make it... I'm not going to braid these ones. I usually twist the primaries, but I don't usually twist the center tap in with it. But I'm not going to twist these ones. For no other reason than I just don't feel like wasting the length of wire to do it. So I want to cut those like right about there. And the other question I have is how steep and far back do I want to get that? I kind of want to get buried nice and deep like in there. And we're going to go like that. Something like that. And I'm going to get brave. I'm just going to freaking lop them off. There we go. And... cool. So now we know what those 2 lengths are needing. Yeah, what those 2 lengths are that we need them to be. So the only thing left is this guy here, which has managed to undo itself for the most part. Stop doing that. We're going to come back to that because we want to install this thing first. So I'm trying to get the lengths of everything. There we go. I'm gonna just pick a length here. I'm just going to pick a length. It's a little longer than I'd like. There. Oop, missed it. And uno mas y todo. Now, there's a little bit wonder. It would probably be wise to some degree to stagger those, those things so they're not all like in one giant group. But that's part of the reason I was trying to hide it underneath those 2 parts right there. So even if there is a big wad right there, it'll be kind of just hidden away. So that sort of thing. I need to find my 2L. I usually have my 2L somewhere nearby. Yeah, right? Late 90s. I want to say late 90s. So that's how long I've been holding on to that. And look, you get it. This is vintage right here now. Let's see here. How do I want to put this guy in there? I think I'm going to go like so. Yes. I'm just going to do these guys first. I think that got a good bite on it. Sure seems like it did. We'll give this a nice little pinch in the other way. They're actually a little bit bigger than this wire is, but it will work. Perfect. Perfecto. And with a little bit of solder to really make sure it locks in, we're going to be golden. with a little bit of solder. Solder. There's probably a million people that never thought they'd ever see anything from freaking Radio Shack again. But I'm still alive. So that's where I cut my teeth, honestly. When I was younger, you know, I didn't have a Fry's Electronics near me. So pretty much the only place where I could get anything electronics related for the kind of stuff I was into, building pedals and stuff like that. Because I got into the pedal game back when Brian Wampler was still running a web page kind of deal. Like this was, I'm dating myself, but this was a long freaking time ago. So, in fact, I wonder if I can, oh, is it buried? Oh, it's freaking buried. I don't think I can get to it very easily. I have my very first pedal that I built in one of those plastic containers or plastic, you know, enclosures that they make. You know, I don't like that at all. But the plastic enclosures that they make over there at Radio Shack. And that was eons ago. And all the parts that made it came out of that. The first pedal that I made was a super hard on, an SHO from Wampler. Not Wampler. What's that freaking ZVEX? So ZVEX. In either case, that's what I was doing. I'm going to get that going. I want to get this side soldered on because I want to try to make sure that we don't bork anything, or if I bork it, that we can go back to it and fix it. But I don't want to have two cables attached to it. So we're going to get one side done and then the other. All right. So bear with me, because this could get freaking ugly, to be honest. Come on, I know you're coming up to temp here. And if you wouldn't mind, we're going to go for slightly hotter temp. I don't think this thing's doing what it was doing to me the other day, but this is a pretty beefy freaking chunk of, whatchamacallit here. There it goes. Starting to get some melty action going on here. There it is. Oh, yeah. Let's see here. Am I happy with that? Let's just get some more melty action going on there. There we go. Pulling the heat up. Want it to fill the little crevasse there first. This stuff is, like I say, it's not exactly meant for this size of wire. This thing's still fucking hot. Knock it off. It's not exactly meant for this size of wire, but so we're going to push our luck a little bit, but ooh, gravity, you mother trucker. See here if I can get this thing to stay put. I guess that's the biggest thing. I just don't want it to fall down is all. There we go. I'm getting high. Huffing freaking. Huffing freaking solder fumes. Yeah, I can see that solder is flowing. Let that solder flow. Get that solder flow. Alright, one more. Uno mas y todo. And if you wouldn't mind, melt, melt, melt. There it is. And there it is. All right. And I can see that we have flow. We've got flow. All right, let's see here. Now we got to get this other end here I'm going to leave these a bit on the long side. We're going to kind of keep the colors the same. So white's going to be white, red's going to be red, and blue's going to be black. Because that's just what it's going to be. So I'm going to assume that's going to go there. And it needs to go at least to there. So that's probably a little on the long side, but that's okay. Okay. It's okay. All right. And because I really want to make sure that this is going to stick, where did I put you? I'm going to put this, I'm going to pre-tin this a little bit. Probably should have done that on the other side, to be honest. Would have been a smarter move on my part, but whatever. We're not attaching these yet, so I'm not really worried at the moment about about putting the heat shrink on there. I know Riley was thinking it. He's like, Luke, the heat shrink though. There we go. Yeah. Since I'm at it, just to keep things moving, I'm gonna freaking go along as I do this. Okay. So I haven't changed out the tip yet for my, sorry, I keep going off camera, but and that's my buddy Brian calling. Sorry, Brian. I'm in the middle of doing a thing here. We had some fun at work earlier today. Less than fun, I should say. I think he's calling me to kind of get the rundown on what was going on. So, oh, darn it, that wasn't good. Well, now you know why we're going to solder it then, I guess. What the hell? Fail. Wow. Wowie, wow, wow. Jesus H freaking Christ. Today is not my day, so well, guess what we're doing? We are restarting on that one. So that means we got to cut them all. So that's kind of unfortunate. That answers that. So these aren't going to work. As much as I wanted them to work, they're not going to freaking work. You know how you done it right? Ow, it's still fucking hot. You've done it twice. Oop, man down. As much as I wanted to use those, it isn't going to pull it off. They're just too big. So guess what? We're going to go back to plan A. As much as I wanted it to fly, it was not going to fly. So these ones are the more appropriate size for it anyway. So my apologies. And these ones we don't have to solder, so imagine that. Darn it. I was hoping to solder them though. I really, really wanted to. That was the way I intended to do it. Oh well. I need to also undo these. My apologies, everybody. Wishful thinking. King of wishful thinking. I almost got 2/3 of the way through. Almost. Let's see here. What are we going on here? Yeah. What's going on here? Let me just get caught up in this a little bit. I'm gonna go with that. Yeah, we're gonna go with that. And click. That one's on there. Let's see here. Click. Let's see. That one's on there. Oh yeah, that one's on there nice and good. And uno mas y todo. All right. And click. And that one's also on there nice and tight, like, Yes. All right. So we're going to give this one another shot here. And I'm going to do it from the opposite side to even it up a little bit here. So click. Yeah, that one's on there. Now we go nowheres. All right. So let's see here. This one here obviously is not going quite as far, but I'm going to cut it extra long anyway, just to make sure it will. So I'm going to cut it right there. Not exactly sure which one's going to go where, to be honest. Yet. So I'm going to make them all pretty much the same length is more or less what we're going at here. Damn. That's how tough this stuff is. This Teflex, like, that shit is tough. I'm not going to pre-tin this one, though. I'm not worried about it. It's in the right type of connector now. So, well, it's in a connector that I know is more suited for what we're doing here. I guess is what I should say. All right. Yep. Uno. Oh. Well, I'm a fucking idiot. What the hell was I thinking? Why do you guys let me do that? You know how you done it right? You've done it 3 fucking times. Golly, you know what I really would love to do? Let's get these frickin' things on here and not think about anything. I really, really want to do that. I don't know what it is. Going too fast is what it is. Going too fast. I need to slow my roll. But you can see, basically making them the same freaking length. So I'm going to just get it over with. I'm going to cut this black one the same length. Burp. Excuse me. Excuse me. Excusey. Click. All right. Let's try this again here. For sakes. All right. So, has anybody gotten any good pranks pulled on them today? I did not. I tried to pull one on you guys earlier, but I don't think anybody was actually buying it. But I thought it was funny. Well, these are short enough now. It's a good thing I left them as long as I did. I think we're still going to end up in a good spot. They're going to end up kind of underneath all this crap. And as it is, that's exactly where they're going to end up, is underneath all that crap. So you might just see them kind of poking out. But for the most part, we're going to be good. So now I got to get even more of those damn connectors, which I can't remember where I put the box. And this time, we're not going to fuck up. This time, we're not going to furk up. Because it'd sure be nice to not. Because I really hate doing things twice. Let alone 3 times. But I will do it until it's right. I will. Yes, there we go. All right, uno mas. There's that. What do we got going on here? Full shit. Metal detecting? Are you like a geologist or something? Oh, thank you, Heather. I appreciate that. I wish I could say I was doing a great job. Right now, I'm a little disappointed in myself, but that's all right. I'm allowed to be, I guess. I just needed to slow down a little bit, I think is more or less what it is. But now that I have my brain in alignment with the rest of my world, we'll try not to make the same mistake twice. Red. Imagine that. Cheese and rice. What is that saying? I mean, if it were easy, everybody be doing it. It's so true. It is so true. If it were easy, everybody would be doing it. Click. All right, there's that. We got one more to go, and I'll be gall darned if I finally freaking get it. All right. So what I want to do is make sure I get it on the opposite side. So we're going to go like this because I want open. I want it like right in there. Click. Did I get it? I got it. I got it. I got it from my mama. Time for a blowjob. We're going to get a blowout, everybody. All the ladies are like, oh my God. Come on, you know you like getting a good blowout. And the guys are like, what's a blowout? Come on. There you go. Now I know. You're going to melt. You want to melt. So this stuff is pretty cool because it's got the freaking glue in it, as I've mentioned before. So it's good for that kind of crap. Oh my. Come on, that's not the worst joke you've ever heard. At least it was pointed in a very good direction. It wasn't that crass. It was actually a good joke. Come on. That was safe. That was safe and sane. That was like safe and sane fireworks. Come on, baby. There you go. Ah, there it is. The nice thing about this stuff is you can see it. It'll just like... I guess it's kind of hard to show on camera, but you know you got it because it'll just like all of a sudden go super clear and you just watch it like suck in there. It's kind of cool. If you're a geek like me, it's things like that that tickle your fancy. You're like, oh man, there's nothing like watching freaking heat shrink. And being like, that was a good shrink. That was the shrink I was looking for. Oh, if only all heat shrink tubing shrunk like that. We are still going to put the other colors on there. I think I can get away with this 1/8 inch stuff here. We're going to find out right now, though. I don't know if it'll fit over that or not. But there's only one way to know. Let's kind of just cut it and go. Oh, I want a piece that's just a little bit longer than what we're working with, though. Skizzers! Nothing like having everything right where you need it. I'm going to go that length. This is the length I'm going to go with. Let me find one of these that are a little bit cooler. That one's pretty cool. And let's see if this is going to fit over it. There's a possibility that it may not, which would be problematica. And it looks like it will not. Poo! That is poo! I like it. Boomer! Boomer! I think I have an intermediate size here that will shrink down far enough, so give me just a second while I bust that out. It's this stuff here. So this is the stuff I used the other night. This is 3-to-1. It'll shrink down enough. I know that for a fact. And I guess I could have just used that other piece I had out, but whatever. I'm not looking to go like super long, but we're going to go with that length. Now I need 2 more of that length. And yikes. Click. And that one was just a little on the short side. Missed it. Missed it. So we're going to see here, how far off are these? So those two ended up the same. We're just going to make this one a little bit shorter. What do you know? Now they're all the same length. Yay! Balance in this world. Okay. So now we're going to turn on ye old heat gun again. But this time we're going to get it so they all look the same color. And then I want this to be somewhat well centered. It's kind of hard to see if it's well centered, but we're going to shoot right there. Close enough. Ooh, I think it moved. Oh, that bitch tried to move. I don't like that. No, 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 no. And I might have already, it might be already too late. I don't think I got the stuff to melt. Maybe not. I don't know. Nope, it's moving. All right, we're going to make this work, I think. I might just have to do... Alright, just have to make it the same on all of them. It'll cover the wire, but it's just not as centered over it as I would like to have had it. It's not very sightly, unfortunately, but it's a little bit more sightly than that, I think, or I feel anyway. It's just getting bulky, I guess is the term, which obviously isn't pleasant, but so what we're going to do is do something like that. There. Now I know they're at least going to be in the same spot. There it is. Yeah. All right. One yimas. So we're going to be using a lot of this heat gun here in a minute. Just FYI, the heat gun is our frame. So we're going to center that up kind of right in there, I believe. Cool. So the heat gun is really good about making wire malleable, and because of its malleability, it'll make it, you know, stay put, I guess is the term that we're looking for. So yeah, that'll kind of all just tuck down there and be hidden away. You won't really see it. It'll be kind of underneath everything. So we kind of got to get everything placed a little bit here, and then we can decide how we're going to roll it out here. This guy is going to end up going on top of it, and then what we'll do when we're done is we'll get like a zippy tie, and we'll put the zippy tie down there and make sure everything stays put, because we like things to stay put. And same thing with this, we'll try to use the heat to get this thing to, you know, bend and move in the direction we want it to, even with all of our nice nifty coil action here. I am going to go just a little bit tighter though. I think I got it just a little bit on the loose side here. So let's just tighten it up just a skirsh. You dirty little. Come on now. That's a little bit tighter. I can dig it. I can dig it. All right. I just wanted to get it a little bit thinner. You kind of get it. Maybe you don't. I don't know. And I want you to complete from A to zinc. All right. Sometimes it helps to put a zip tie on the end just to hold it in place. In fact, because I'm tired of it unfraying on me here, where did I put those little turds? There they are. I had a bunch of zippy ties at one point. So just to make sure it stays put, I will do this. Again, you can't really see because I freaking have it off camera, but you know what I mean. Zippy tie. All right, we're gonna put that there for now. I'm gonna cut I go through a butt ton of zip ties doing this stuff. Invariably, you probably find like 100 different ways that you want to lay all your wire out, and it's never right. And let's see here. Get in there and stay in there. And you get in there and you stay right there like that. Yes. And then you come to daddy. And what we were going to have you do is bend over like that. That didn't sound very nice. Now that I'm thinking about it, like, wait a minute, it's not what it... Do as I say, not what I mean. Let's see here. Sloth, you made it! You made it! You're on time! You didn't make it, you made it literally before the 5-minute bell. For those of you who do not know, Sloth is really good about getting in, like, right as I'm about to do my freaking closing statements and stuff. It's like, I'm here. It's all good. It's all good. It's all good. I place zero judgment. I get it. You're in school today, right? Or is it the other gentleman that's usually in school? I can't remember all this stuff. As much as I try to remember all this stuff, I cannot. Okay, so you can kind of see what we're going for there. It just kind of runs straight out and it starts tucking itself over. Now, where it gets a little more interesting is that these guys here need to connect into this guy here, but all those connections are on the bottom. So if you take this thing and twist it like this, pull it in, all those connections go... I guess it helps to get it in the camera view. They got to go in from the bottom that way. It's kind of less than fun, to be honest, but you get the idea. All right. So let's get this guy kind of pulled just a little bit tighter here. There it is. I think that was the little that we needed. Little that we needed. All right. Now... I've got to remember the wiring colors on this, and let me see if I can do so. If I'm not mistaken, so black is the common, yellow is 4, orange is 8, and violet is 16. Because that's how I remember it. Now the next thing is to make sure that this thing is pointed where we want. So this is our common. On here, this is our common, so this is what touches each one of those 3. Now the reason you got to make sure you get this right now is, I guess we can kind of show you actually. So we're going to put this thing into beepy beepy mode. Beep, right? Maybe make it so you can actually see. You can see it. Maybe you can't. Oh, you can't really see the number when it pops up. There it is. That angle, you can see it. So if there's any kind of a resistance, you'll see it, but it'll still beep if it's a low value. So see how that beeps? But they'll all beep. Right? Because it's all connected to the same thing. It's all one wire, but it's just a tap on the inside of the thing. So all they've done to make that secondary work at the different values that they have, 4, 8, and 16 ohm, is that this one jumps off at a lower, I believe 4 was the 4 ohm, or the yellow was the 4 ohm, right? So this one just jumps off earlier, so it has less resistance. It's 4 ohms. This one jumps off somewhere in the middle of the coil, right? And the coil just keeps on going on. This just taps off of it, and it just happens to be right around the 8 ohm, whatever the 8 ohm impedance would match out to be. And then the 16 ohm is just the end of the wire. But these all touch together. So you can imagine that once you put this thing in there and put it on, when you go to click the things, you don't actually know if you got the 4, 8, and the 16 in the right spot unless you know that you got the 4, 8, and 16 in the right spot. So you got to make sure that you know which wire is which. and which of these is your intended spot. So if I put this thing in there like this, I'm looking at it in reverse or upside down at the very least. So right now it's in the 4 ohm position or 8 ohm position. I know it is. If I turn it this way, which would be for you guys counterclockwise, right? That would be the 4 ohm position. And as I recall, that should be this one. So this one should be the 4 ohm, but I could be wrong. It might be, let's find out. That's what the beepy beepy's for. I can't remember. There's too many damn things to remember in a lifespan. So some things just don't stay locked in. Okay. So I was correct, right? So this is in what I know to be the 4 ohm position. And when I touch this one and this one, oh, you can't even see, my bad, right? So that's the 4 ohm one there, because this thing here is pointed at that lug. So that's how this kind of works. There's a flat spot on here. Maybe you can see that, maybe you can't. Oh my God, I'll pull it together for you guys here. I'm going too fast again. See that flat spot there on there? That flat spot's pointed towards here. This is what I intend to be the 4 ohm position in this amp. So that needs to be the 4 ohm. The 8 ohm is easy because it's right up the middle, and then the 16 ohm goes there. So I need to make it so when these wires come off and connect into the bottom of this thing, that the yellow is on this side, the orange is in the middle, and the purple is on the left. And I'm just going to confirm that again. Yellow is 4, orange is 8, etc. All right. So this is probably the first real connection that we're going to make tonight on this thing, because we're going to cut those and we're going to connect it to this, and it's going to be torturous to watch because I don't have helping hands. It makes it a bitch to do this without helping hands. So let's just do it. All right. So I will need this open and on, or up and on, excuse me. Let's get this thing kind of in this range here. I am going to just cut it kind of a little long, but beyond this point there. So I think right in here is probably a good safe spot. Bye-bye. And I'll fill this thing up. Before we're done, this thing will be pretty much full of all the different wire connections. So this, I am going to put another zippy tie on there because I want it to kind of stay put. I don't want them to unravel it entirely. So I'm going to put another zippy tie down there. And I'm going to put it right about where I know I want them to land, where they're going to fall in order. So what I mean by that is if these unravel, which they have, they're falling in the angle that I need them at. So yellow, orange, purple, right? So now the trick is going to be getting them down there and connecting them kind of like that. Okay. I know it's difficult to see, but without moving a camera, like literally all up in everybody's business and all that stuff, it's kind of a brat and a half. And I'm going to take the screw off of this so I can kind of soft fit this in its little space, its little space. But, all right, let's keep on keeping on here. And I'm going to put this in. So we got a little bit of space, a little bit more than I anticipated, which is great. So at this point, it kind of comes down to just picking a spot and rolling with it. I actually need to move this down a little bit. And sometimes you can get away with it, but this time I put it a little too tight. Darned. Darn. I'll also fill that up with a lot of freaking, whatchamacallits. And that's going to go, I think, like that. But what I'm looking to do is find whereabouts I need to cut it so it'll fall in there but stay tight. Because I want it to be tucked into the corner. And I'm going to say it's right there. I'm going to cut it just a little bit long of that. And click. That is a dedicated cut there at this point. Peel this out. We're going to strip that back a little bit. We don't have to go crazy long with this one. That's probably a little longer than I actually needed it, but I did make it a little longer than I actually needed it too. But I'm going to twist that up, and if I'm not mistaken, there's quite a bit of wiggle room. There is So just to get this kind of out of the way, I am going to tin that to try to help make getting it on there a little bit quicker. Come on. Burp. Excuse me. And if you wouldn't mind. There it goes. All right. Once it goes, it goes. Okay. And thank you. I got a little more on there than I wanted. I'm probably going to have to get away from this. It gives me a little bit more than I need. All right, so now what we're going to do is kind of stick that in the hole. I'm also going to pre-tin that. How do I want to do that? I'm going to do it like that. That is how I'm going to do that. All right, so now what we're going to do is try to hope to God that things just kind of go together like they're supposed to. Sometimes it works like a dream. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you feel like a nut. Sometimes you are. There it is. So now it's inside the thing. We'll come back a little bit later and we'll kind of give them like a little touch with the gun and some extra solder to make sure it pulls through on the backside. So right now, actually, it's easier when you get them all done together. I'm just saying. So the next one that we got to kind of get in line here is the orange. And we got to get all the stuff out. There we go. And that one's going to go like right there. So I'm going to go like right here. So I got it pretty close the first time around. I had just about that much left. And then we're going to do the same here. We're going to pluck some off. And give it some. So this one I didn't get quite as much off. I didn't pull as much sleeve off of that. Not a bad thing. It's just, it's going to be a little bit tighter on this one than it was the last couple times around. There we go. That did good that time. And it's so much easier when you don't have to do all this kind of crap like that. But we're going to make this work. In fact, I think this time, now that I've got the other one on there, it might, yeah, that's going to work. So once you got some way to hold it in place, it's a lot freaking easier, let me tell you. But now we got to do it quick because we don't want to melt the wire and all that other crap. So there it is. Yes, we got that in there. Nice like. All right, so that center one there, the orange one there, I'm quite smitten with at this point in time. Like, we got it nice and buried in there, and yada, yada, yada. So lastly, we got to get this purple one. And again, ooh, that one worked out really well just on its length alone. I want to cut it like right. I'm literally just going to kind of cut the same amount off as I did the last one. Just a little beat. And we're going to do fun stuff, fun things here. Not that much. Yeah, about that much. Ooh, knock it off. All right. We'll do the same. And clean that one. I don't like it. It was dirty. It was dirty. Sorry, I know I'm a little off the side of the camera here a little bit. This will get better as I'm not working so far to this side of the chassis or whatnot. Okay. That went quite well. And then what we can do is stick that in the hole like we did the other ones. And there it is. And then I do have a negative feedback wire that's going to be coming out of, if I'm not mistaken, the 4-ohm. So I might be kind of screwing myself a little bit. But I don't know if I want to come in from the front side and go over to it, or if I want to come out the back side and shoot it up. That wire is going to end up going to a connection that's like right over in here somewhere. So it doesn't have to be very long, but now I'm kind of debating on how I want to do that. So let me do some background work here and refresh my memory. Do keep in mind I have not built this particular output section before, so I'm a little bit green on some of its particulars, but I'm pretty certain that I remember most things. 16 ohm tap. What do you know? I caught myself just in time. I knew something was going on with that guy. So what I'm going to do is come off the back and then run over to it. Now, we do not need a 20 gauge wire for that, so I'm going to go with some of this lighter gauge stuff that I had out from before. Is this the 22 here? Pretty sure this is the 22. This is the 22 gauge here. We're going to go with the 22 gauge wire. I am going to shoot out the back and make it long enough to get wherever I need to get it to. So that's going to be at least that length. It's a lot longer than I need it to, but I don't care. I don't care. I want it to be long enough, and I don't want to even have to think about it. And that is honestly just kind of long enough. The hope is that I'm going to go that way with it. I have an opportunity now to make sure that that is my thought process, because the other option I have is to come around and then shoot it over from in here. Now, the question is, which way is the better way to go about doing this? So this is a feedback wire, and now feedback wires are generally not happy to be around other things. So if I'm going to run the plate in over here anyway, that means that the feedback wire is going to run along the plate. No big deal. If I run the feedback wire along this way, it'll be longer, which may not be good. Radio man, the name, oh, the tube numbers. Yeah, it's hard to know that stuff too, because there are a lot of freaking tube numbers and stuff like that, and just a butt ton of freaking specs and stuff too. But so I could go like that and go that way around, but then I end up with the little jumper that goes across. I don't know that I like that. I kind of want to keep it clean like this and just have it jump on in there. So I think I'm going to do what I had already kind of started to do, which is run it the way I'm currently running it. Did I do good? I did good. I think I did good. All right, let's get this thing kind of, there we are. All right, so now what we're gonna do is fit this in there with it. I almost blew it, you guys. I almost did. Let's see how they both fit in there all nice like. And if I do this really well, I'll get it in there and it'll stay all pretty like, and it won't fall out. Come on. I'm waiting for it to suck onto the brass pad there, which it kind of just did right now. So I got just a little bit over here. Okay. There it is. Let's get this one again while I'm at it in here. I just wanted to touch that one in just again, like real quick, just to make sure that we're sunk down underneath on the bottom side of the pad. So you got the hole through the pad and you get the solder on the top. That's great and all, but on the back side of it, right, it might be dry. You don't want it to be dry on the other side. You want it to be moist. A woman's favorite word. All right, we're gonna turn that off for now. I'm going to snip off my excess. Now, Heather, that one was a bad taste joke right there. That one I expect to hear the freaking what? I am, of course, kidding and all that jazz, but so this one here we can basically put in and call it a day. So now it's just a matter of getting everything to fit how I want it to, and I believe like so. Yep, just like so. And we don't have the faceplate yet, but I don't need the faceplate yet. Reality of it is you want to try to reduce the amount of times you take things apart and all that as much as you can. So we're going to try to minimize the number of times I take the faceplate on and off as much as I possibly can. And then this is going to go out and around like so. possibly down on that side of these things, and then it'll jump up kind of like in there somewhere. So just to give you some context as to what the heck I mean by that, I got to remember where I put those two little things at. They are up here. So this guy here will go there, and the connection that I need this to go to is going to be like right in there. Right? It's literally like that one, I believe. So this one will go kind of like that or something. You know, it'll, whatever, like that ish. Okay. All right, so now we can work on getting this connection done, but I need a couple other things. So I have bus wire somewhere. Now I have given up on using Romex. Romex is too thick for this stuff here. Right, and it's too much, right? I mean, it's thicker than most of the wire that people are using on most of their stuff. So I use this stuff here. I believe it's like 18 gauge. It's just solid core, like bus wire. Nothing crazy about it, but it needs to be long enough to span both of them. So I just kind of cut two lengths that are basically the same size. And this stuff works pretty dang good. But if you want to use thicker stuff, you can. But I have come to find that going too thick doesn't really improve it too much. It's such a short like distance, like there's nothing to gain out of it. So as with most all of my stuff, I do run them through my little wood smasher. I like to rub wood. But another bad taste joke. Still freaking funny though. Yeah, I know, looks aren't everything, whatever. That was still pretty PG. Most kids wouldn't even get it anyway. Technically, I was rubbing wood. Not 12 gauge? No, I think this is like, it's a little bit, it's like 18 gauge. Maybe it's thicker than 18 gauge even, but it fits in this wire, or it fits in the slot a little bit better, where you can actually get all the wires in there, right? So what I need to do is get this other washer that I had, because what we're gonna do is put this together here. So that's gonna go there, this is gonna go there, and where's that other one? There you are. And then what we're gonna do is this. We're gonna thread you in. I do specifically put on my thing that this show is not for children, by the way. So if you have children in the room, I apologize. I will teach them things inadvertently. I'm a bad influence. If your kid comes home saying a word that they never should have heard in their entire life, it was probably me. It was probably me. It was probably me. I always have to mind myself around my nephews and stuff. I gotta remember I'm not in adult company. It's hard to do when you're a sailor, you know what I mean? So what we're gonna try to do here is make these as flat as I can. So I want these things to be flat, and there is a little trick to that. Where is it? I usually use this guy, and then you just kind of loosen them up a little bit so that they can rotate nice and easily. And then you just take this guy and you set it on there, and you press down a little bit, and then you tighten them back up. And then try to be very careful to not move them or bump them. But by doing this and getting them pretty snug in there, they stay nice and flat like. Yeah, that's going to work. And then when you solder them, right? When you solder it in place, it stays nice and straight. Make sense? So now there is another thing that you need to be aware of. So it's probably best to start with the middle and work your way towards the ends. Now, in my case, I'm going to have a wire that goes from here to there, to the tip, right? So you don't want to solder that one. You got this guy here, which I am going to put there. But then I need the ground that goes from here to run over. So I need to have another connection on the end. So that's why I say it's best to do just the centers first to make sure that you don't like fill up a hole that you need to fill up, right? That's all. So just trying to think ahead, I guess, is more or less what it is that I'm getting at. So what I'm going to do is get the center in. And yes, I know those are long. We will chop them down towards the end. Believe you me, we're going to be in a good spot. As far as the cabling goes for these things, I believe they use 18 gauge for these. Yeah, it's 18. So we want to make sure that we use 18 for the remainder of it as well. Another thing. You notice that I'm taking this common wire from our secondaries on the output transformer, and I'm connecting it to the speaker jack first. That is a must. Do not connect this guy to the chassis first and then run a cable back. Okay? So you think, what's the difference? They both go into the same spot and I only have to run one wire to this, right? Versus this other spot where you end up putting two anyway. But it is best, let's say either one of those two broke, it is always best that this guy here has a connection to the speaker. All right, that gives it at least half a chance of surviving if something goes wrong. And then if all hell breaks loose and this guy does disconnect itself, at least there's some sort of a path to ground, right? So this must go to the speaker jack first, and then from the speaker jack, then you can run it to ground. Okay, just keep that in mind. If you're going to build your amp, just because it's convenient to place this to ground somewhere nearby, don't do it. Resist that urge. Connect the common or the center tap or whatever you want to call it for the secondary side of your output transformer to the speaker jack first, and then a ground wire from there on out. Now, I don't really have 18 gauge black wire. And I'll be honest in saying that it really doesn't matter. I have 16 gauge, and 16 gauge is thicker. So I will use 16 gauge. So it's not this Teflex stuff, which is unfortunate, but you need to use at least that gauge. I could probably do just fine with this 20 gauge WG. I mean, it's so freaking close. This is more than enough for the amount of current this is drawing. But in theory, I have 18 gauge wire. I should probably use 18 gauge wire. So that's what we're going to do. So this is 16 gauge stuff here. I'm going to go with a slightly fatter wire for the remainder of that connection. And click. So now I've got that. All right, so this is nice and warm now. In fact, I think it might be a little too warm. I'm going to cut it back just a skirsh. And let's go ahead and get the centers done up here real quick. Let's see here. You kind of got to get both to work together. You don't want to keep the heat on there for too long. There it goes. But you want to get it on there. And then you want to move on. It's probably best to flip-flop back and forth and not spend too much time on any one joint. Just get it so it's heating up and melted into the joint, and then come back and do any kind of touch-up work you might need to do on it after you've completed doing some of the other stuff. So now I'm going to jump back and I'm going to come over to this one. And I'm going to get it from this side, I think. And you'll just kind of see it when it does what you're looking for it to do. It'll just kind of blob a certain way. And then once you get that to happen, you're like, oh, that's great. Now, I don't have anything else that needs to come off the tip on the output side. So I'm going to go ahead and get that done. But I'm going to get this other side done first. As I mentioned, you kind of just jump back and forth. Again, to try to not put too much time and energy on any one joint. All right, so those are all done. I need to connect those two, but that one there I do not. So I'm going to go ahead and get this last one done now. And I did cool the gun down a little bit, so it's not quite as hot as it was. Ooh, that went well. So that's why it probably took a little longer than I'd like. And then what you can do after this point is clean this up. So I'm in a kind of a predicament spot right now. I have the choice of connecting this and making it permanent, or I have the option of leaving it kind of where it's at, maybe getting this wire on there because it just makes sense to put it on there, and then taking it out and leaving it out for a while until we're just actually ready to put it in, which means that this guy here won't get put in yet either. The only reason I'm kind of thinking of holding off is because I do have, I don't have too much more to go on over there, but I don't really want to mess with this too much while it's inside of the amp. So I think what I'm going to do is try to do a little bit of tidying up. Where did I put that little turd? I have a pointer somewhere. Where did I put my little pointer? Oh no, I can't find my pointer. Where did I put that little guy? Oh no. There it is. Ha ha ha! It's the last place I put it, which is to say I put it where it was supposed to be. Anyway. So I'm going to cut this so I don't end up banging myself up on it too much. And in there. I'm going to cut this one as well because I already know I don't need that much sticking out. And we can do the same with this one here. I'm going to just cut it right there. Bloop. So now it's all nice and tidy. Let's go ahead and get this guy in. And let's see, that's an 18 gauge. So we're going to go like that. Click. Now this is not that freaking whatchamacallit stuff, so we do need to be quick. We do want to be quick. Alright, so same, we're going to get it on there. Come on. Melt. That is a little warm, but did I get everything? That is the question. So we want to make sure that we got the lower wire too. We did not get the lower wire as well as I'd hoped. So there's more than just meets the eye. You want to make sure you get it all. There it goes. You could almost feel it and see it kind of just suck itself down in there. There it is. Now I know for a fact I got it all. Sorry, I'm going to get my head in the way there, but we'll come back up and touch that a little bit more. Touch that up a little bit more. That is probably in there a little bit longer than I need. I do not like using physical connections. There is no need to wrap that thing around 5 freaking times and then try to solder it as well. If you freaking solder it right, there's no reason that thing should ever come off. Here's the other beautiful thing. It is not an impossibility for you to use solid core wire and wrap it around, or even stranded core wire and wrap it around, solder it, and end up with it still not having a good proper connection and coming loose. But then you get this false impression that it's a good connection. You come back later and you got some weird problem and you're looking at it and it looks like it's wrapped up nice and tight like, and you dismiss it until one day you come along and you're like, and you're like, oh, it was that wire. I've had it happen many a time where it doesn't matter if it's wrapped or straight through. If it wasn't soldered very well to begin with, it is going to come loose. So this one will get touched up again for sure anyway, but I'm just kind of overstating the obvious there. You just kind of have to. I don't believe in doing the freaking wrap thing. It just doesn't gel for me. So I'm going to cut this again a little bit longer than I need it to. And I have a choice here. I can either finish this connection here and leave it so we can get it into this, or I can put the connection on here and get it into that. I am going to do the former, where I connect it to here and then we eventually connect it to there. Now I get the joy of deciding which side I want it to be on. It's going to go from the outside and bend in. So there. Ha. So you'll probably notice that on a lot of these things, the only ones that I actually make a wrap on will be the turrets where I run the wire on it. And on that one, I only wrap it just around. It doesn't go all the way around. I can't remember what I think it's like 270 degrees is more than enough, to be honest. Some people are nuts and go a little bit, they'll do like 360 plus degrees. I can tell you, you do not need that amount of wrap on them. I think it's a minimum of 180 degrees and no more than 270 degrees. And I think they say that there's not allowed to be overlap. Now, depending on who you ask, will be a different opinion on what they mean by overlap. To me, overlap means the wire crosses over itself at any given point in time. I mean, that to me makes sense anyway. So, I don't know. But that one is in there. I'm going to give it one more little kiss over here on this side of it. I'm going to hold that tight right there. I want it to pull through. Golly. There it is. Later on, when we get to doing more of these like close-up shots and stuff like that, you'll kind of see what I mean a little bit more. Like there's this like convex shape that you'll see, you know, it kind of looks like a diamond of some sort, right? The wire's coming in through the middle, and you'll see this conical shape that comes out from the connection around the wire. If you have that kind of thing going on, you probably got enough solder. It doesn't have to be flooded into a giant ball, but you know what I mean, like just something, right? Something is better than nothing. But let's go ahead and get this guy off and out of the way so we can kind of clean up some of these other wires. Whoa. Max of 180. Yeah, like honest to God, like you don't really need to go crazy with them. It shouldn't go anywhere, and if you do a good job, you do a good job. But let's see if you can see. So this one here, I still need to do more on the bottom. Let's see if I can get the shot. See there on the bottom? That wire right there on the bottom? See how it didn't go all the way around it? That is what I'm talking about. So you're looking at it at the top and you're like, oh, that's freaking solid. Nuh-uh. You got more work to do. But if you look at this one here, let's see if we can get it to focus. But see how that one's like conical all the way around? It's not the prettiest of welds, or solder joints, but it's in there. And even on this side here, we got solder that kind of bulges out on both sides. That's what I'm talking about. This one will get touched up more anyway. So these other inner connections are a good example. So see how it's like nice and conical on that one side there? I'm looking at that one here, right? Well, if you look on the other side of it, it's still bulging out. So it's bulging out on both sides. So that's how you know you got a good joint. You do have to kind of inspect them a little bit. Those are not the prettiest solder joints on the planet, though. Those will get touched up again in a bit. So I am going to leave this alone here. I am going to suck those in. It kind of looks like this guy just is going to work out pretty well right there. So I'm going to go with that. So here's another challenge that I have. I have two options. So if I'm not mistaken, let me confer with my paper. White is the center. So this white one is actually our center. And I probably should have made it just a little bit longer. But, fudge. Let's see here. Where do I got to get with it exactly? As I recall, I probably should have made it longer. Oh, damn. I fucked myself. That guy's got to get all the way out to there, if I'm not mistaken. So I biffed it. I biffed it hardcore. We kind of need to make that even longer yet still. Isn't that about a bitch? You know, I did it 3 times. Might as well do it a 4th. So I'll have to cut that one and just make it super duper long. Which is unfortunate because I don't know this thing here is long enough. Oh yeah, this one's long enough. All right. Well, that's the length we're going to use the next time around. We're not too worried about that one. So we know that the white one is our center. or center tap, if you will. Or wait, is that the one where it goes? It's still out over here somewhere, if I'm not mistaken. It's been a while. I can't remember off the top of my head. But, enough of that. So these guys here, let's get this guy out of here. Get over there. All right, so that's going on. These guys here, and I probably should have started with the heaters, but we're not going to worry about the heaters right now. All right, so those guys go kind of like that. But I have a choice. I have a 50-50 shot of getting that right. All right, so there's two different ways you can wire the output transformer. So I can either go the way I currently have it with black and then red, or I can flip it and go red and then black. Which way is right? We do not know, okay? So the reason we don't know is because there is the negative feedback, right? The negative feedback loop is what makes that the problem. So it needs to be that this is injecting the negative going signal, right? It's coming off this tap here. So that is, if you will, the polarity, right? If this is polarity 1 and that's polarity 2, we don't know exactly which one's minus polarity or negative feedback. So we want to make sure that that is the negative feedback. So there's two options that we can do to fix that problem. We can either swap the primaries. We can swap those or move the black to where the red is and vice versa. Or you can actually swap the phase leads, or the pi leads, excuse me. So the leads that come from the pi, they'll come in over here and then they'll jump to this tube right there. All you do is flip-flop the wires. The tube itself doesn't give a crap which side is doing what. Doing what, as long as it's going in the correct orientation as it goes to these guys. And I wouldn't swap it going to it. I'd swap it on the other side coming from the tube into the grids of the power tubes. So at some point you'll come off of these tubes here and they'll run into the grids of the power tubes. And that one you can swap left or right. It does not care which one is which. That's how I should have worded it. So I don't know if this is going to be right or not. So I think what I'm going to do is wait. There's enough room in there for me to work once all that other stuff is in there, right? So I got these on either side here. So I've got enough working room in there that I should be able to can make the connection. And if it squeals, what you'll know that you got it wrong when you turn the amp on and turn it up a little bit. It'll howl, it'll squeal at you. And if it does that, it's probably because you've got these leads reversed. Now, most people will say flop the leads or swap the leads from the output transformer. You don't have to do that. You could just swap the input feed grids. Which one is right is debatable. I'd say whichever is the least invasive to the amp and its topology. So in most cases, it's just easier to swap the primaries. Most cases, not always, but most. I am going to hold off on that. I want to kind of get this. We're jumping around a little bit here, but I want to get this heater run done. So let's get this out of my way here. So I've kind of decided, I did swap the direction that this thing was twisting earlier. You want to try to get them pretty tight. And what I mean by pretty tight is the twist, but there's a practical limitation to how tight you can get it. The other downside with wrapping cables too tight is that they lose length as well. So that is something you do have to be mindful of when it comes to that. If you only have just enough length of cable and you go and you start twisting it, it's going to start sucking that length in. And I don't think there's any magic number to it either. It's not like every twist you lose a 1/16 of an inch or something like that. The other thing that we're going to do at this point is decide how much I want sticking out and which of these two I want going to which. And it looks like, based on what I got here, that I'm going to go like this. So this one will go to that, and this one will go to there. So what I want to do now is make sure I got just enough length that this thing will sit where I want it to. And I'll have the length to get it. So I want it to kind of sit like that, but I want it to be straight. And I know it's difficult because I got to try to hold that thing in place, but I want that to be as straight as I can get off of those two leads there, but not necessarily a right angle over here. It's going to be almost impossible to get this thing to come out and make a right angle with that little amount of cable sitting there. I'll give it a shot though and see how tight we can get it, but my experience is saying that's probably not going to do it. Yeah, it's going to stick out too far. You kind of see what I mean? Yeah, maybe. It's toit. It's toit. Toit like a toiga. There's so many freaking decisions that you can make. Like, it's... Building an amplifier is literally a character. Like, you're putting your character kind of into it more than anything. There's so many different ways that you can do the same damn thing. Which one is right is just... There is no right real answer, to be honest. So, all right, I'm just going to call that right there. I'm going to be brave. We are going to cut the wire. I'm going to cut it a little on the long side. So I want to have just enough so if we suck it down to the chassis, which we should do, that I'll have enough to get it into the hole still. So that one there I'll cut like right here or something. So now we know which one's going to go to which joint. And now I just need to get my heater back on. Iron, that is. And we're going to strip back some wire. We don't need to go crazy. And I will wait to do the other one until after we get this one kind of in there. So we can get the length just so. As I recall, these are always a tight freaking squeeze. So I am going to put it in first. And as you recall, I've had so much fun with this in the past. There it is. I got it in the hole. There it is. So it'll sit in there. We'll get it soldered in. And everybody will be happy. But I want you to sit down a little bit further. I'm trying to get it kind of pointed where I want it first. Yeah, we're going to go with that. Again, note, I did not wrap it around the frickin' thing 100 damn times. If you do this right, you don't have to do that. It does not require that level of insanity. And I may need a little more heat because we got a larger thing on here to work with, but let's just see what we get here. It's trying to sort of pull it in, I guess you will, if you will. But it's not doing what I'd like it to do. So I'm going to crank up just a couple degrees here. And we're going to get it to do what I want it to do, which is I want it to suck up to the top of the wire here. It's kind of starting to do it. There it goes. There it is. Not exactly pretty, but that'll work. Okay. And while it's still hot, I'm going to try to get that thing to put where I want it to. Does that make sense? Kind of what I'm doing there. See how it kind of goes straight across there? And then this guy will go there, but I might even need to let one of the wraps out. It'll do it. It will do it. I should have made it just a little bit longer, but it's going to be all right. We're going to do all right. I don't need it to be that long, but we're going to go right there. Okay. And this is where you use these guys to manipulate wire. Did I get you where I want you? That's looking pretty damn good. I'd say so. I think we're golden. Okay. Got a little more solder on there than I wanted, but I was able to pull it off. All right, it's not horrible bad. Then what we can do is work that kind of down. This is all kind of starting to make sense now, what we're trying to do here, everybody. All right, so that's going to get pushed in a little bit. That's going to get pushed down. And then what we'll do, there we go. So what I'm trying to do is make it so this lower wire stays hidden kind of underneath the green wire. Look, nice, eh? And then, you know, yeah. And then what we do is this. That's kind of preliminary. That's going to happen a multitude of times. And you don't have to do it every step. I mean, honestly, you can do it at the ass end if you want, right? But what that'll do is it'll do two things. One, it'll make the wire malleable so you can kind of get it bent where you want it, you know, and get it nice and straight so it's doing, you know, all the little kinks and all the little things you want it to do, right? Once it cools, it'll try to settle and hold in that position, right? And then it also relaxes the wire so it's not so, you know, brittle or whatever you want to call it. Like, it just takes some of the rigidity out of it, but then when it cools, it settles in the position that you have it and want it to be. So that's looking pretty good. We're going to leave it alone. Next, let's get this guy down there. Now this is going to require a bit more heat because I got a lot of lug to deal with, but this one's going to be a little less fun to deal with. So this one is our center taps, and I have a choice on this one. I can either stack them vertically, which is probably the ideal way to do it, because I really want them to kind of be tight, right? I want them to kind of lay right in that little zone there, because objectively what I want to do, let's see if it'll stay put for me. It may not, but all right, let's say they land there like that. I want them to try to be hidden underneath this guy, right? So you can just kind of see it there, but imagine that getting sucked in pretty tight. Objectively, the goal is to try to make it so they just kind of disappear down there. That's the idea. Okay? Okay. Let's see here. What do we got? Yeah. That. Let's see here. It's time for another drink, too. All right. So this one here, I kind of would like to stack the wire, because the little lugs, there's two holes anyway, right? One is back here and one's, you know, in on the bottom. It's almost like that, except for it's in this angle here, right? But I'll get the smaller wire in on the bottom and I'll use the larger wire in on the top. The green one is the one for the heaters, and it is a little bit bigger. I don't want to twist these though. I don't know. I kind of want the green on the top. So I'm going to get this red one kind of done first here. And I don't leave any extra length on these guys. So, because you know, it's, if this thing fails, you've got a bigger problem than needing extra wire. So, needless to say, it's just cut it to the length that you need it and just pray that you got it right, because it should never freaking fail. But let's see here. We don't need a whole lot sticking out, so I'm going to cut it just a little on the shy side. Now I have an option here, and it's kind of a scary one, to be honest. But I kind of, if I put it in first and then solder it now, I have to make sure I get it just so. And as you can see, we got it just long enough to get in there. All right. The wife's home. It's talking to the dog. So I kind of feel, we might as well just get it done. The challenge that I'm going to have is if I get that soldered in there, it's going to be a brat and a half. I don't know what I want to do. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this one kind of primed real quick. I'll get it, what's the word I'm looking for? Tinned is the word I'm searching for. Yes, and I'm trying to get just a little bit more usable length out of this guy. I don't like where it's landing. It's kind of going in between these two. So what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to uncoil those a little bit and pull this out from there. And then resolder those, or re-tighten those back up. There it is. That's exactly what I was looking for. See that? Now it's just a little bit longer, and then I can tuck it back in the hole a little bit. All right. So I'm going to tin that because the hole is a lot bigger than I need it to be. All right. I apologize again. I'm kind of talking to you like a class, I guess, but maybe you are. I don't know. I hope you don't feel that way, but I'm just trying to explain what it is that I'm doing, what my thought process is when I'm doing this. And click. Nope. Did not go the way I wanted it to. Now it has. Bloop. All right, so now I'm going to bring the heat up a bit, because now what I need to do is get that in there, and hopefully, so I'm going to try to get that soldered and get a little blob going, and then I'm going to push the wire in from the bottom. But it's got to be pretty dang hot, because we got a lot going on down there. We got this ginormous freaking heat sink, if you will. Oh wow, that actually freaking went in there. There it is. There it is. Oh my gosh. I need a little more heat still though. It is melting, but it is not like melting. So I'm going to get just a little more heat. I'm going to get a little more on the gun here. There it is. And come on down. There it is. I think. That will do. That will do, pig. That will do. All right, we're going to do the same thing for this one here. So you got to be careful. It's still pretty freaking hot down there. So I'm going to cut it right there. And that is going to be just long enough. But this is... What's the other dude? I'm not entirely sure what happened in its entirety either, my friend. I do not know. Let's see here. Yeah, I think that'll be okay. So this is, again, like 18 gauge wire here. So this one I am not going to... Yeah, maybe I will. No, I'm not. I'm not going to. We're going to just stick it in the hole. At least I think I will. Do-do-do, maybe I will have to. I don't know. I'm really good about getting holes that are freaking hard to get wire in. There it is. It's in the hole now. All right. So this is the fun part. I'm going to crank up the heat even just a skirsh more. And we're going to get this one in the hole. In the hole. Come on, baby. Melt. I want you to melt. I'm going to need more heat still. I'm at a disadvantage. This is not exactly the thickest of heads here that I got to do this with. There it is. I think that might be it. There it is. There it is. That's the one. The iron gets plenty freaking hot though. Like this thing gets up there. But the problem is I've got this nut. I've got this other tang over there or whatever the hell it is going through an aluminum chassis. So it freaking sucks the heat up real quick. Like there's not much left after everything's all said and done. All right, so there's that. That's gonna tuck along there like that. And we're gonna just try to make it look pretty, right? Just kind of scoots around that. And then when this guy goes over the top, you'll see what I mean. It just kind of stays pretty well freaking hidden. I mean, You do see it, but keep in mind there's going to be a bunch of components over the top of it. But that is pretty well hidden. For what it is, that's pretty dang good. I don't see you getting it much cleaner looking anywhere else or any other way. You know what I mean? Okay. These ones we're going to have to come back to. I get the feeling I might end up changing the direction on that. So these two red ones here are the secondaries. That's our HT, if you will. And then this purple one here is our words. That one is our bias. So we've pretty much gotten everything I wanted to get done, with the exception of actually getting this one in place. There's still a couple other wires that we could run. The next thing left to do would be to get this connection here done. So that's probably what we'll do next. These guys here, I kind of want to wait. I don't really want to cut them too much, but I'll show you what I'm talking about with where they connect to. So this guy goes there. They literally go, where I put the little pointer, right here. 1, 2, 3, right? These three wires will go 1, 2, and 3. So it'll go 2 reds and then the purple. They go right there. That is all the further they have to go. So we'll probably try to work this around in some sort of way. So it goes like that, and it'll literally just kind of bop up in there like that somehow. I may not even need to twist them. Pretty cool, pretty cool. Another thing I'm thinking I might be able to get away with now is our ground connection. Although I do have a couple more wires to run down there. So I'm going to wait on this guy. This is our ground connection, and it goes to that lug right there. And it's going to come in from this kind of angle, right? Something like that. But I'm going to wait on that one. Again, I know I'm yip-yapping a whole lot. I'm just trying to kind of explain the thought process behind it. So let's get this guy kind of done up here, because this is one of the last like tricky ones. We need it to land in a specific spot. And I don't really want to take this thing in and out any more than I have to. But what I do know is that this guy is going to line up like right in here. This wire is going to go down there somehow. And then this guy is going to end up like kind of buried in this corner, if you will. Hopefully like right in there. So we want to try to get it about as close to in that corner as we can get, and have this one meet it there. Does that make sense? So we want those to kind of meet in that little spot right there. But we need to cut this almost like perfectly. Otherwise, it's probably not going to work. So I'm going to make it just a little on the long side right now. I'm just going to kind of pick a spot like right here. It's almost right at the end of its thing. I'm going to say that's good enough right there. Click, 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 click. Bloop. There we go. All right. So now we've got all these things here. There was something that I had noticed that may or may not be a problem for me, but so this connection here, I put black and white as kind of our hot and neutral, and then our red and blue is our hot and neutral. Well, the problem is that's not how this switch works. So this switch works by connecting 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 together. And then when it's in its 230 volt position, it simply connects the 2 and 3 together. Excuse me, right? So, Heather, you're the only one in here chit-chatting away, and I've burped on you. My apologies. How many hours do I have in this already? Ooh, we're well over the 100-hour mark at this point. And probably closer to 200 almost already. The number of hours that you got here, if you actually take the time I've worked on it, just in this last week, we had what, 3 hours yesterday, 2 hours yesterday, maybe 2 hours the day before. It's like 3, 4, 5 hours, and we've got what, a dozen of these videos now. There's a lot going on in the back end that you don't see. There's like just some of the planning and trying to like make sure I got kind of a lesson plan here for how we're going to do this, kind of figured out. So I'm going to say at least 100 hours, possibly close to 150 at this point. And we've still got 16, another 16 hours probably just to make this thing so it's playable. And then we get to work on the cabinet. And that's the part that's That's the part that kills me. But in either case, so as I was talking, right, the 2 and 3 connect in the 120 volt, or 1 and 2, 3 and 4 connect in the 120 volt, and then in 230 volt it connects 2 and 3, which means the hot is on its own and the neutral is on its own. But the way that it stacks through the transformer is different than you think. So the objective behind it is that you run in parallel. So you've got 1, 2, 3, and 4, right? And what you're hoping to end up with is 1 and 3 running together when you connect 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 together, right? So they run in parallel. But then when you go to the 230 volt connection, you end up with 2 and 3 connecting. That's these two here. And then what you end up with is a series connection. This is our 0 volt, so that's our neutral. These two make up the hot and the neutral of the next wind, and then this one makes up the hot of the last, or the ass end of the wind. So you have to make sure that these wires, when they connect to that transformer, will connect in that direction. It doesn't really matter so long as the 0 volt or the neutral is the 1. Now in this case here, we did it backwards, more or less. What is pin 1 is actually, I think I made pin 4. I think I knew I did it backwards or something like that. I can't remember, but I think I did it pin 1 as neutral, which would be correct technically. But then that means pin 2 is our other neutral wire, which would be incorrect when we go back the other way. So what we need is for this white wire to be our 0, and it needs to run in parallel with our blue wire when it's in our 120 volt mode. And then we need our brown wire and our black wire to be our hots when it is in 230 volt mode. And let me do something here to just you little bastard. It hid it from me. It doesn't have my stuff saved from yesterday. So we're going to go transformer series parallel connections. There it goes. What do you know? And then I'm going to be able to go. You can't see what I'm looking at, but it's okay. Hammond. That's what we want to go to, because this is a Hammond transformer. We want to make sure we get that right. So, and then the next thing I'm going to look up to is my 372 KX. So 372 KX. Boom, boom. I want to make sure that the wiring that I see on the 372 KX is the same as what I'm seeing on the other one. So our 0 is white. Our black is 120 volt. And then our brown is 0 and our blue is 120 volt. Okay? So I did have that right. So white is 0, brown is 0. So those are our neutrals. And then these two here, the black and the blue, are our hots. Which means that if I were to keep it at least so that my white is neutral and my black is line, if I leave it that way, which is my intention, because that's what I got going on here. So this is coming into the switch, all right? So we need to make sure that the hot, and how did I do that actually? Oh, okay. I might have already kind of worked out all my issues. So I made it so 3 and 4 were are hot. But that doesn't do me any good for our 2. Oh, wait. No, that's what it is. That is our 1 and our 4. Excuse me. I was looking at it wrong. So 1 and 4. So I made 1 our neutral and 4 our hot. Well, we're just going to call it like that. So right now I've got our white and our blue that connect together, and our black and our red that connect together. And that is correct when it's in parallel connection. But when we go to 230 volt, we now need the white to not go to our lower connection there. The way that I currently have it right now, it wouldn't go to anything because it would pin our 2 and 3 together. At least, yeah, I don't know. In either case, what we're going to do is get these pinned up and we'll kind of figure out all the semantics of it later, but we're going to do that right now. So I think if I cut it right where it's at, it should work out okay. And it's a little on the long side, so I am going to cut them back just a wee bit shorter. I'm going to get brave. Get brave. I'm confusing myself a little bit as I literally talk more and more about shit. That I want to be staying over here. There we go. All right, I am going to cut this just a little bit shorter. I'm not as worried about goofing these ones up because of how they... Nice shot. All right, so now we can undo these and get our Molex connectors out. Yay! Remember those? Now, Andy was giving me shit. Obviously, he was just teasing a bit, but he was giving me crap about using Molex connectors, but there's a reason I had to go with Molex connectors on this. Reason number one is I needed to go to this voltage selector, and reason number two is this wire wasn't going to make it all the way over anyway. Heather, go build an amp now. Do it. Do it. And I want to make sure I get the right side. So we need the male end, which is this guy. We need the pokey bit. Yes, that. All right, so I've got 1, I've got 2, I've got 3, I've got 4 pokey bits. Click. All right, and then I need the Molex connector end, which is this guy here. That's going to go there. Now I'm going to strip off a little bit of the end there. Ooh, I don't need the iron on anymore. I don't need the skizzers anymore. I'm going to do one last little sanity check. That should function for me. I think if it's a little too short, we can get what we need out of it. If it's a little too long, I'd rather it be just a little on the long side. All right? Am I right, ladies? Ha ha. Mm-hmm. Brain's starting to get fizzled out here. It is, what are we at? 2 hours and 10 minutes? I guess it hasn't been that long of a day, but it's been a long couple days. We've been working, everybody. I still do have a day job. Still have a day job. All right, we're going to go right there. Ooh, gimme. And I'm going to strip these all at once so I get them all kind of the same length, or know that they're all about the same length. Yeah, yeah. And Uno Masia. Ooh, that one I'm going to go a little bit more. Oh, that one tried to take some wire with it. Maybe it did. I don't know. And that one right there. Okay. Okay. Yeah, those ones. Now that one's too long, darn it, but we're going to make it work. It's okay. We're going to make this work. We're going to make it work. Okay, so these ones are fun. So these ones go in there. And we want it to go into the thing. Go. There we go. Yeah, like that. Like that. And then we get this guy, and I believe it's going to be our E connector. And I want it to go like right freaking there. Just like that. Oh my God. I think that was it. I'm going to go a couple more times with it. Just because, but because. The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. There we go. Out just a little bit. Yes. Yes. It's good. It's good. Sorry. All right. Sorry, I'm probably thinking again just a little bit too much, so I'm shutting down a little bit here as I think. Think. Was that Winnie the Pooh? Think. Oh, bother. And I'd rather not crush my fingers. Oh, my goodness. Don't make me work. any harder than I already am. Thank you. There it is. Sure be easier if I can get it like this. So I can see. Ah, you monkey. I'm referring to myself, by the way, when I say that. As in, dumbass. Nope. Nope, nope, nope. See if I can get this here. See if it'll let me do this. No, it's not going to let me do it. Erg, it's going to make me freaking work. So the challenge I'm having right now is what I can see versus what I can manipulate are two different things. So when I see what I want, I can't manipulate it the way I need. And then when I can manipulate it the way I need, I can't see where I'm doing my manipulations, which is screwing the whole pooch. All right, I think that got it at least on there, so I don't have to think about it anymore. And that looks to be the case. All right, yay, we got it. Click. There it is. All right, 2 down. A couple more to freaking go. I'm gonna go with the white one next, because why the frick not? Okay. I see some chat streaming by, but I don't know what you're saying. Oh, I'm doing fine. Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm trying. It's hard to be interesting while thinking. If that makes any sense. Like, it's hard to do both. I'm pretty dang good at what I do here. But it's a lot easier when you don't have to walk and chew bubble gum. I'll tell you that. And for me, walking and chewing bubble gum is literally trying to have quantitative conversation and thoughts while also trying to not furk it up and do stuff like that. Where my dexterity is obviously fried. I need another Red Bull. That'll smooth me out. Where's Colby when you need her? She's my Red Bull girl. All right, I think that'll stay put long enough. Nope, sure won't. Oh, this is painful. So freaking painful. All right. 3rd time's a charm? 4th time? Let's see if I can do this and not freaking tag it in there. Come on, come on. Come in. There it is. Now, did I screw anything up? That one did kind of bend a little bit on me, but that's all right. It is in there. It did not damage anything. Click. All right, so now we got the fun decision of deciding where the hell we want to put those things at so that it lines up the right way. I remember there was something about this. So what it is that when we put this in the 230 volt range, this black can't be the black anymore, okay? The black actually needs to be the blue, is what it is, okay? So I need to swap the hots around. I can't swap it on this anymore. This is done. It doesn't really matter on this, what is what, okay? We just need to know that black on here is blue over here. You get what I mean? So on the other side, white is white. White is always white, period, because white is our start. It's our 0 volt. And then blue is our end when we're running in the 230 volt range. And remember, in 230 volt range, we're going to basically connect the black wire, this black wire here, to our brown wire here, okay? So the black is the end of our first coil, and the brown is the white or beginning of, or start, if you will, of our second coil, and then blue ends it. So what we'll end up with, if we do this the way that it shows on my little thing here, and let me show you what I'm talking about since we got them both kind of called up right now. All right, so this is why it's kind of confusing when you're looking at things a little bit. So forget about this white, black, red thing and all that, right? We're concerned with the white, the black, the brown, and the blue. So you see how this is our 0, 120, 0, 120, okay? And they stack just like that. So if we go to here, this is series winding. So this is our 230 volt. This is what we're looking at. So 1, that's our white. 2 is our black, which goes into our brown, which is our 0, and ends on our blue. But then when we're running in parallel connection, which is our 120 volt connection, what we end up with is this 0 going with that 0, and this 2, or this 120 volt going with that 120 volt. Does that make sense? That's how that connector works. And I don't have it opened up right now, but as we've already kind of confirmed, in 120 volt mode, or 115 volt mode, if you want to look at it, 1 and 2 connect together, and 3 and 4 connect together. So it's a little bit backwards when you think about it, because again, 1 and 2 are connected together, but not 1 and 3. So that's why it's getting a little bit confusing, because on the connector, it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. But over here, we want 1 and 3 to be connected together. I hope that kind of makes sense. And so then when we jump this thing, right, we want to make sure that 120 goes into our 0 and on. So that's why what I've done here kind of doesn't, it's not going to make much sense with the way I did the colors. So the way I need to do this is that black needs to be blue. 3, which is our other connection there, which is our brown, doesn't really matter. Our brown can be blue or red in this case. And actually we want that one to be on the same side as, so we would make our blue the brown, interestingly. Our black will be blue, and our red will be, the red will be our actual blue. It's going to be all kinds of back-ass words. So let me kind of help make sense of this. So our white is always going to be the white. So that is not our problem. So let's go ahead and make that a reality here. So our white is always a white. So something like that. Click. Our black is actually our blue. And you guys need to be correcting me. Right? 433. ARG. Is that how long the thing is? Good morning. Yeah, you guys are just getting rolling over there. And so then our red needs to actually end up being our black. So something like that. And then that would make our brown our blue. That kind of actually lined up. I think that's pretty much what I said it needed to be, if I'm not mistaken. So what this will help us determine is right now, if I connect these two together right now, I should see our black and our white connect together. So let's do some confirming here while we still can. I don't want to put it in the connector yet until we can kind of suss this stuff out. I apologize. I know this is brutal. This is the kind of stuff realistically that I would work out ahead of time. So that way I don't have to explain it to you guys. And I kind of did work it out, but then as I was looking at it, I was like, well, maybe I should just explain it to you. But we should have 0 connection. Well, we will have a connection because it's going through the transformer. Right? So if I lift the white out, I wonder if it would change our results. So in theory, it should. No, it did not. What am I in? I am in 115. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Oh wait, no, because it's connecting 1 and 2. All right, hold on. So our brown is the other one. All right, so now we shouldn't have any jump connections here. There's no way. So the transformer, again, the wires inside of it are always, what's the word for it? Continuous. All right, except for that the 2 coils are split. But all right, anyway. So now if I go to black, it should end up on the brown, but we're not gonna. So black is red. That makes sense. Oh, I can't really mess this up, so I'm pretty sure we got it right. Our black is gonna be our blue, but that's not what I got. I hope they don't do that internally that way. Let's just see what it does on this end here. Let's just see if our things connect. And they don't. So black and white do connect, and it won't touch the other ones because that's a different coil. And then our blue and our brown should beep, and they do. Okay, that makes sense. That is correct. We're working out the wiring of our transformer here. We want to make sure that we get this right. So right now, in this position here, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 will be connected together in pairs like that. Live long and prosper, all right? So that's why it gets confusing, because technically speaking, the black and the red are connected together at the moment. So maybe what I'll do is I'll put this in the 220 volt mode, because that's the mode that actually counts. It's not so much of a problem in the 120 volt mode. We know that we can make it work in that as long as the 2 sides are, you know, the hots are together and the colds are together. But right now we want to make sure that the black is blue. So we're going to say black is blue. And that our white is white. So the white is white. And that our blue is red. No. Yeah, blue is red. And that our, well, let's do this first. So as it is right now, I should be able to touch across those. No, not those ones, because we haven't closed that loop. Let's do this. I'm going to do this. So the black, we're not really worried about that. We're worried about the blue, which should be the red. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is undo the black one. Okay. So we should not have a contact on those 2. And we do not. So those 2 are not connecting each other. But when we touch these 2 together, we should. So to do that, I'm just going to kind of ground them together there. And then they touch. So that is correct. Okay. Does that make sense? So our thing is correct. So blue is red, white is white, black is blue, right? Yeah, black is blue, and orange is, where did I say it was? Orange is our white, or brown. Golly. Yeah, that. So now let's kind of coil up my wire here. I gotta remember how I freaking did all this. Click. Come on, get in there. I'm trying to remember how I coiled all this stuff up here. And you get over there. Actually, no, you go like that. And then like that. Oh my goodness, you mother trucker. It's uncoiled enough. I got to remember now how I got all that. And then something like that anyway. Golly, I'm having a tough time right now. Everybody, it might be time to call it a night. At this point, it really doesn't matter all that much because we're just looking to close things up, but might help with looking at it this way too. That's what it is. Okay, that needs to go there. And that'll go across there and over. See, it's so much easier when you can look at it the right angle of the dangle. You know what I mean? Braiding hair is pretty freaking easy, but it's a lot easier when you can see where it is you need to go. All right. And you dirty little, get over there. There-ish. And you still didn't do it right, dang it. There it is. It's like that. It's just a pain in the ass. If it were easy, everybody'd be freaking doing it. At this point, it doesn't really matter. It's going in a connector anyway, but... All right. So now... black is blue. No, black is red, excuse me. Black is red. So red is pin number 3. This should have things on there. So black is pin number 3. And that's going to go here. Click. All right. And then brown will be blue. No. White. White will be blue. And white is on 2. That's 3. 2. So blue is white. That goes there. Click. And then we got to get this one to fall in there. And then white is always white. So white never change. So what is white? No, white is number 2. Dang it. Did I goof that one up? I did. White never changed. Gall darn it, you guys are supposed to catch me on this stuff. My brain must be absolutely fried right now. Is this not painful or what? This is painful for me. I'm not super excited at the moment with this. All right. Turning this off now. So white is always white. It will never change. So white is on number 2. Yes. Number 2 is that spot there. God damn it. Everything's like coming apart on me. It's not fair. All right, and then that goes there. This needs to go into 2, which is here. Okay. And then blue is our actual black. No, that is incorrect. Blue is our black. So our actual black is blue, which is 1. And that's this one here. Which leaves us with one other hole. And if we did everything right, I'm gonna go back later and redo this to make sure that those are all twisted proper. But this should all make sense. It's pretty close, but it's got to get redone. But we're gonna get that redone. Does that make a little more sense? I hope that makes sense. I'm fried, obviously. So I've done everything I was intending to do, but black is red. That is correct. Our white is white. That is correct. Our blue over here is brown, which should be correct. And then our red is black. So when I touch these two, we should get a beep. If I had it on. If I don't, I quit for the night, and I'm obviously just done. So let's just see if I'm freaking crazy. We got a beep, so we must have done something right. Now it'll do the same thing even if I put this in the 120 volt mode, because in theory we're still connecting everything together. So I'm going to put this back to 115 or 120 or whatever the hell you want to call it. We should still get a beep, because that means that we have everything connected the way we're supposed to, as we've already determined. And we do. All right. There. I'm half crazy and half just done. All right. That was a little brutal. My apologies. So now we kind of got an idea of how this is going to fit in there. All right. That's going to go there. This is kind of where we get to see if we actually made it even close to the right length. Ooh, I think we did good. That's going to fit there just like that, see? And then this will go here. Right? Does that make sense? Oh my God. Too much brain work. Too much brain work. I made it difficult on myself. So the problem is that the switch works different than the intuitive aspect here. I know we've kind of already gone over it, but I just want to kind of lock it into your brains that when you're messing with these things, you got to kind of go through these things. So let me show you what the switch looks like. Let's see if I can find the switch real quick. So we're going to go Schurter. I believe that's how it's spelled. Voltage selector. Schurter voltage selector. Yes. And that is the connector, right? And then let's see here if it's actually going to show us the connections. No. So we're just going to have to go to one of the pages and let's see if they'll show us on here. Do they have a spec page for it? Data sheet. Let's see what the data sheet says. And there it is. So see how they have it? That's that connection I'm talking about. That's a little bizarre. So it makes sense when you're looking at it this way, right? Because 1 and 2 and then 3 and 4 are connected together. But then 2 and 3 are connected together. That's the part that's weird because you're looking at 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. You know what I mean? But then you got to look at it and correlate that with that because 1 and 3 definitely go together, but not when it's in 120 volt mode. 1 and 2 go together, not 1 and 3. So you got to swap 2 and 3 around. But because we want number 4 to be our always hot and number 1 to be our always 0, that means you then have to flip the 2 and 4 around as well. So it's like one of those sort of deals where you got to double check your connections and make sure you're not freaking crazy. Like I almost was. Trying to wrap my brain around 1 and 3 and 2 and 4 being swapped. So enough of that crap. I've had enough. We've gotten everything done that we said we were going to get done. I will go back and beautify that and, redo those connections. I should only have to take 2 of them out. Maybe only one will have to come out. It kind of just looks like the white and the blue need to twist the ground together. I don't know. I'll figure that out. We know that we made the connection. It is the right length. It will work beautifully. Another cool thing is that this guy there will get hidden by the caps here. So you won't really see much of it, if any of it, because it'll be kind of buried down in there. Right? Click. The knobs, I think, are going to be here tomorrow. Something like that. Tomorrow, maybe. I could be wrong. Since I'm here, let's freaking find out. I won't show you all the bullshit, but I'm actually interested when the knobs are going to be here, because I would sure like to get my knobs. So let's see here. I am now live. My screws for this is shipped out just earlier. So I'm going to delete a couple of these things here. Where did it go? Amplified parts. And I want that, and I want this. Survey says, where is it? Ooh, Thursday. So they'll be here Friday, excuse me. I wish they would have been here tomorrow. So they'll be here on Friday. The knobs will be here on Friday. Do you want to see what knobs I got? I'm not going to show you the knobs I got. I'm going to make you guys wait. Okay. We're calling it a day for today. We got pretty far. There's just a couple more connections that we need to finish up. Where did I put that thing? I sat it down over here somewhere. So we got this thing more or less ready. I need to redo the ground in there because obviously that did not go quite the way everybody was hoping. I've done nothing. It's kind of like I'm back in high school. I don't know all the details, my man. I do not know all the details, but you know, we keep kind of on the, we don't fuck around with that kind of shit here. So once I know the whole story and all that fun stuff, we can go around that. But in either case, we're just gonna keep on keeping on for the time being. I'm not trying to involve myself at the moment with all that. It's distracting me. Okay, this guy is done, and I'm happy with that. So that is done. Tomorrow, I think what we'll kind of get into is we will start probably getting these guys in, maybe, which means we're going to have to put the back plate on. We're at a place that we're close enough that this guy is done, so I don't have to worry about that connection. There's only a couple more connections that go into these spots here, but in order to do them, I need to finish up those wires, which means the back plate will end up kind of going on. And then, you know, all the other power connection stuff is ready. So we can even possibly get the front plate put back on with all the pots in place. Because we shouldn't have to worry about those. The pots are non-incidental to me to be there. So we'll get the front plate put on. We'll get the power stuff put in. Maybe tomorrow another thing we can do is get the little module glued in. I don't know where I put it. It's around here somewhere. But yeah, we got the little module that we can get glued in right there. Little things like that. If tomorrow we can get everything done on this lower side here and get the wires kind of pre-ran for this connection here, for instance, we need to get a wire that runs for literally from here all the way around and over to this guy. This one here needs to come around and over to this guy. And then there is just a couple small little things like that. If we can get all that done, we'll be all right. So in the meantime, you guys have a wonderful evening. Happy April Fool's Day. I'm going to get some rest, take a shower, all that fun stuff. It is 8 o'clock. We've been at this for 2 hours and 40 minutes. Not a bad night. We actually did some pretty good progress. Sans going back and forth on stupid connectors, but we didn't do too bad. And that being the case, we will get this figured out. So take care, everybody. I will see you tomorrow. Thank you so much. Goodbye.